everybody. Guess what? It's me again. Thank you for joining us for Prop Talk. And we are, yes, still live at NAA's Apartmentalize 2023 in Atlanta, Georgia. Thrilled to be here. Sitting next to me is the infamous, wonderful Bobby Griffith. Thank you for joining us
Absolutely.
today.
My pleasure.
I am so glad you're here.
I am.
One of my favorite people. So encouraging, just such a great ambassador for all good things in this industry. So let me tell you about, now that I'm done, gushing, tell you a little bit more about Bobby, why I want him to come talk to us today. So you're the CFO and Director of Acquisitions.
And principal.
And principal for JL Gray Company. Over 3 decades of experience in multifamily housing industry, specializing in affordable housing, which we all know is such an important conversation, housing affordability and the lack of affordable housing. I like this stat. Since joining JL Gray, the company has grown from 45 to over 130 communities.
That's correct.
Do you ever stop and think about the magnitude of that?
Yes.
All the people that you house?
Absolutely, we do.
I felt instinctively like you're somebody who would. So the other thing too is you're an executive council member, immediate past president of the Apartment Association of New Mexico.
Correct.
Which means you're probably still working full time there anyway. Now there was the Southwest Affordable Housing Group. You're president of that.
Yes.
And that is SWAHG.
We call it SWAHG, but yeah, Southwest Affordable Housing Group.
I'm like, so when we first started building affordable housing software, I'm not kidding. We all have acronyms.
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh, you guys have a lot of acronyms.
That's right.
But this is an industry association that represents owners, agents, developers, nonprofits, and service providers of the affordable housing in the Southwest.
That's correct.
So that's a great thing to be part of. And as if that was not enough, wait, there's more. Bobby might just be the most interesting man in multifamily, as well as the best dressed. And you're probably wondering why I would mention such a thing. Well, obviously. But this is unplanned. I actually put this in, and I checked it with some of our Gen Zers and millennials at resident, because you are, and you always are dressed impeccably. And I've always believed that dressing for success is more than just a catchy mantra, right? It's a tangible aspect of your personal brand, and it contributes, I believe, to your career growth. More and more, we see people kind of dressing down in their work environments. Like I'm in tech, cargo shorts and flip-flops are not abnormal. But I just can't help wonder if it's impacting the work environment and career growth, even at a subconscious level. It's a surprise topic, but I wanted to talk about it because, Bobby, it's not a personal choice. I'm guessing. Do you believe that, there is something to be said for dressing for success?
Absolutely.
How would you coach younger people in our industry? And actually, it's not even younger people. I think people got a little comfortable during the pandemic, especially when everybody across suppliers, association members, whatever, working from home, top half business, bottom half yoga.
Right.
Right? So what would you say? How would you coach somebody coming up through the industry on this topic?
Thanks for that introduction. And I do appreciate you saying 30 years because it's actually 40 years. So I've been in the business a lot longer than that.
Keeping you as young as possible.
I agree. The dress is something that I don't know that I woke up one day and decided to do it. When I started in this as an employee, it was in the grocery business, and even the sackers had to wear ties. So you came from that era that you dressed up. Even if it was just a short sleeve shirt and a tie, we still cared about how we looked. And when I was younger, I wanted to dress better, but I didn't have the money, so I did what I could. And as I got older, I decided this is going to be one of my vices. I'm going to dress. What gets me is that I don't think I dress all that well. Usually I am in a suit and tie, but because the general population doesn't do that,
Stands out.
I get a lot of compliments. And I don't think it's just because I don't think I have what it takes. I just think that I'm doing it. Look at you. You're dressed very nice, and you're not doing that for this podcast. You do it every time I see you. I do think that people who dress way too casual come across as I don't care. And I think that affects their business. And I think it affects the way people look at them. I personally just believe that it's something that we ought to get back to in our younger generation. You don't have to wear a suit and tie, but my gosh, quit wearing t-shirts and flip-flops,
When I was thinking about this, I remembered back years ago, like a long time ago, and when I was in property management, and I went from a company that really invested in our professional dress, and our portfolio was acquired, and we went back to khakis and polo shirts. We're in Texas. It's hot in the summer. I get that. But it was interesting to watch in real time the same steps.
Yes.
This is a portfolio purchase. There was a change, and it was subtle, and it wasn't something I noticed like in real time. Oh my gosh, we're changing.
Yeah.
But I noticed it like after a period of time.
Right.
And I actually was one that advocated, and we changed it for our portfolio.
Right.
And we went back to, not business casual, but business. And it made a difference. People stood up differently, and I think you can tie that back to understanding, that this is your office.
Right.
These are people's homes, the
Right.
office in their homes to some
Right.
degree. But this is your office and
Right.
your environment. And you're inviting, people are coming into that. It's like, I do believe it subconsciously does something.
Absolutely.
And even when we were doing the podcast and press conferences during the Rent Tracker project, we're sitting down for the whole thing. I had heels on the whole time.
Yes.
For no reason
Right.
other than,
Right.
to me, it's part of my, it sets me in the right frame of mind. That I'm here
I agree.
to be serious. I'm here to do professional.
I agree.
And so thank you for talking about, because I wondered about this, some of our teammates, so I asked them, am I just turning into an old fuddy-duddy? Is it relevant? And you know what? Overwhelmingly, everybody was like, no, there's something to it. I feel like that they were sharing with me that even in their own groups, it's like they miss seeing that. They want to emulate that professionalism. So thank you for going down that rabbit hole.
You bet. And the rabbit hole, I want to make it deeper for just a second. I think, first off, that we don't do business with companies. We do business with people. And people are my connection to that company. And if I feel good about that person that I'm relating to, that helps a lot. And for me personally, I think that this may sound a little crazy, but I am remembered for the way I dress. And so that gets your foot in the door in a lot of cases. But I think it stems from two things, and I always talk about my mother. She made me make my bed every morning. And to this day, and I haven't lived under my mother's roof for 50 years, I still make my bed every morning. And I do something else, because she always said, when you're on the phone, you need to smile because people can hear you smile. And I've always taken those things to be a help. And you can tell, for me, I think I'm more comfortable with people who smile a lot, who are happy, outgoing. Well, not necessarily either way, but if you're just that person that I want to have a relationship with, it doesn't help to look good too.
Wise words and preach the truth from Bobby's world. Well, again, thank you for that rabbit hole. I'm sure our team's going to be anxious to hear what we said about this topic, because they all knew we were going to talk about it. And hopefully it will resonate back. And I wanted to end it, but now I just remember too, there's a property that helped Resnick get on the map, because it was up for property of the year. And it was really a B asset and a C asset level, or C local area. There was even an F on that street, I swear. And I remember that property manager, one of the things she did is she had this crazy thing that she did. where everybody wore, and it's all black. Black slacks, black shirts, black pencil skirts, black button-up shirts. Everything was black. And she accented everything with like pearls, bracelets, earrings, necklace, and all the guys had pearl white ties.
Oh, wow.
And what's crazy, this wouldn't think it would have this much of a difference, but it did. Because number one, the way they presented this office was only like 252 units. It's down in San Antonio. The traffic we have coming in is those properties down around the property itself. And the atmosphere of that property, not only how it changed for them as a team, but even amongst the residents.
Absolutely.
And the people coming
Absolutely.
in the door. And I swear to this day, we actually rolled some version of this out all across all of our assets because of what we saw happen at Royal Cable Ranch. Because there was this difference, and it tended to impact the people who wanted to rent there.
Right, absolutely.
And it's by no mistake that property was up for Property of the Year because it translated into, it was such a crisp, clean, professional atmosphere that they took that into how they did everything. And it became subconscious. And then it resonated with the residents, and then it resonated with the prospects. And then they were up against all Class A assets, but they had the highest effective rent per square foot. The little things matter. So, okay, now I can be done with that.
No. Go with that for a second. I'll bet you that manager who felt like that, I bet her office was immaculate.
Yes.
I bet they didn't have files out all over the place. I bet it was clean.
Their grounds were immaculate.
Absolutely. Because we believe very strongly that the office visit sets the tone for the residency for a lifetime.
Yep.
And if it's sloppy and if it's a mess and scattered looking there's something about resident. I think it's a very subconscious thing. But I think immediately it sets a tone. And you're talking about a C, maybe B property beating out the A properties. It doesn't surprise me at all. And just because of the office mix and the way that it was done, I really agree with you.
Well, good. All right. So that's your first tip from Bobby and E. We're gonna start our own show. So the second thing I wanted to dive back into, first off, thank you again for speaking at Resmania.
You're welcome.
So Bobby joined us for a legislative session with Greg Brown and Chris Cook. Greg Brown from NAA's governance and Chris from NAMA. And it was a heavy topic, and we really wanted to educate, everyone. I think a lot of times we can say at the highest levels of the industry, but we're all voters, and this is our livelihood. And I came up through the ranks as a leasing agent, and so I did deeply care about what was going on in the industry. The more I've understood, the more I want to help do what's right that allows us to continue to provide quality housing. And quality is a key word.
Absolutely.
Key word. So anyway, so we had great feedback, and we're going to come back to that topic here in a second. You guys were so warm, and people responded so well. So I just wanted to say thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Because
it was my pleasure.
Well, we had people asking how to get involved, and I thought if we got one great, we had more.
Right.
So that was great. But then there was another thing that you said as we were leaving, and you have no idea how much that not only did it touch my heart, I shared it with the entire team, and then I was going to ask you to share it again with us here because you had made observations as somebody who is a first-time attendee of Resmania. You have your own software, so you don't have any obligations to Resman. But I wanted you to kind of share your perspective of the experience as an outsider of Resmania.
I don't remember exactly the words that I used when I left. I'll just share from my heart as I reflect back during that conference. So first and foremost, I have to tell you this. I did not know that it was a Resman conference.
Okay. The name fools you?
No, I was stupid. I really thought it was for lack of a better term, I didn't know it was an advertisement for your stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was just a conference in general.
Okay.
And that's what it hooked me as.
Yeah.
It was surprisingly well organized. It was fantastic for me because I've run conferences for many years, and it was refreshing because I felt it was more of multifamily than I've ever seen in a long time. I grew up in church, and people would go to churches and feel uncomfortable, not because of what was being said and not because of beliefs, but because they weren't made to feel welcome. When I walked in the door at WrestleMania, I felt like I was at home. I didn't know anybody but you, young lady. And I didn't see you at the beginning, but your people made that. And then all the way you had your booth set up and everything, it was just such a relaxing, not having to struggle, being able just to be there, to enjoy, to share ideas, to listen to the classrooms and all that was being taught. It was probably one of the most comfortable things I've been to in a long time. And it just reminded me of being at home. So when I said multifamily, I probably meant home, you know? And it was just something like, as many conferences as we all go to, some of them, like you want to just like, why did I bother? That one, I hope I'm invited. Well, whether I'm invited or not, I'm coming back every year.
Well, we will take you back.
It was really good. And I have to say this. You have to understand you're so genuine and you have so much enthusiasm that I feel like I'm your best friend when I know that you have tons of other people, but you're one of those people that make the person that you're talking to feel so welcome. And I think you're genuine with me, but that makes so much of a difference. And I think that's infectious. It's like your manager creates a tone, your company, everything that you have, all of Resman and the family, there's a culture there that's just
different,
above reproach, and it's genuine, and everything about it is just fantastic.
Well, thank you.
So the conference was a reflection of you.
Well,
I personally believe.
yeah. Well, and I would say we truly have the most amazing team.
You do.
But I do thank you for saying that, because we will share this with them as well.
And let me say one more thing. If you see WrestleMania advertised next year, you need to buy tickets. You need to get on their mailing list. The topics that they had behind the scenes, that they were fantastic. And you did a lot of affordable housing for those who are in that industry, as well as A-class properties. So it was the gamut across the board. It was really good.
And it's interesting because we kind of take a different approach about, I don't know if you caught this, but we don't do, we'll have a couple of sessions that might be like a product that we can tackle everything at once. But for the most part, a lot of it is an industry conference. We try to structure it because if we're a true business partner, we care about your individual success.
Absolutely, I agree.
And so our topics were more about where's the industry today.
Yep.
And even though we did plan it a year out, we actually hold off picking our sessions until fairly close to the event, just so that we make sure that we have the most relevant topics that are nothing to do with Resman. This year was all about half one review, half two strategy, because we know the market's going to continue to soften, things are going to get tighter. And then as far as using our software, if you're an actual user, we just had a Roy bar going the entire time.
Right.
Everybody went on their time for their needs, and no sales quotas. It wasn't about that.
Yes.
We figured we put a lot into this product over the years, and not everybody always keeps up with their enhancement updates, which I would urge you to do.
Right.
But that was our goal. We just want to make sure people are using what they're already paying for, which, we'll talk about the other stuff later, but let's make sure you get the most out of it. But I'm glad to hear you say that, because there was some really good feedback. We bring in some amazing speakers, but the collaboration between our customers, it's not just our team.
Right.
There is a definite culture that maybe emanates from them and works with our customer base, where it was very much the concept of a rising tide rises all boats.
Right.
And everybody at the conference seemed to have that attitude.
That's right.
I love it. I thought it was a beautiful thing, especially because we're so much about tech. We love tech.
Right.
And tech has a lot of answers, but it's not all
That's
the
right.
answers.
That's right.
Human beings matter.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
So thank you for saying
You're
that.
welcome.
And you will definitely be back next year.
Okay.
Because and part of that too is we're very committed to keeping the legislative conversation going.
That's good.
And that would be kind of this transition into the next thing that I want to talk to you about. Just, well, first off, I hear congratulations are in order. I want to make sure I talk about that.
Okay.
So you were selected yesterday. Tuesday? What is today?
It was yesterday.
So you're a regional
I'm
vice.
a regional vice president for Region 6, which puts me on the board for NAA.
Awesome. High five.
First time that New Mexico has ever had a representative in Region 6.
Wow.
And I think I got there because I'm really a Texan.
Maybe it helps that you were a Tasmanian in Texas.
Oh, that's what it was. Because
That's-
people, because I haven't stopped talking about that. That's right.
That's funny. Well,
So
first
thank
off,
you for getting me there.
I know. Congratulations. He was networking. He was campaigning.
Yeah.
No, he wasn't. He actually wasn't. No, I'm really excited about that. You guys, and you specifically, New Mexico, have had a lot of challenges. And we talked about this on the panel. You've overcome a lot of things legislatively.
Right.
So, when you were the chairman of the PAC committee last year,
Last year.
yeah, I couldn't think of anyone better.
Yeah.
Because that's how I've got to know you. I got to know you through Advocate, which was
That's right.
CapCon and
That's right.
Advocate. So I know how passionate you are. And I thought that was what I'd use the last few minutes to talk about.
Okay.
If there was one thing you could look out and say to the multifamily professionals out there when it comes to this issues at hand, so the challenges we're facing, what would it be?
The thing is that we have to remember that all industries have to lobby before our government at the national, state, and local level, and some more than others because of the different industries. For whatever reason, in our industry now, targets are on our back. So-called greedy landlords. We're taking too much money. We're not taking care of our residents. And there's this demand out there that we basically give away our apartments, and that just can't happen. But first and foremost, I was very honored to be with Greg from NAA and Chris from NAMA. And they have all of the things, and they know all the rules. They know all the regulations that are being presented before Congress. And I can't keep up with all that. So first thing is find an organization that can keep you informed. Your local apartment associations, if you have an AMA in your area and you're in the affordable housing, that would be a great place to go. But you have to know what's going on. So just try and be informed. You don't have to be the most knowledgeable person, because I am not that person. Everybody talk about how Greg and Chris know so much. I'm passionate. They're the ones that get me stirred up, that want me to do something. So at your local level, I don't care who you are, when you get the agenda of your local city council that they're trying to do something against our industry, you need to go. You need to make your voice heard. It's very simple. Most places have a 2-minute time limit for you to talk. If you don't want to talk, get somebody that can, but you have to make your voice heard. And I'm going to tell you something. We in Albuquerque, New Mexico, have had 2 major bills that were proposed for our city, and before we started talking, we already had lost. We knew what the count was, but we started talking to our city councilors behind the scene, and one of those votes we won 6-5, and the other one we won 7-2. So one was sort of a tight one, but the other one was, we really changed some people's minds. So that's important. That same thing at the local level can be translated to your state, and it actually can be translated to national. The main thing I want to say is, if you don't want to do it in person, you can figure out by just a little bit of research or with one of your organizations to figure out who to send emails to. Because when they get enough of your phone calls, emails, they will decide, because guess what? It's all about re-election. They start running for re-election the minute they're elected.
Yeah.
But also,
And most people don't even realize what you just said. I remember having a professor in college, and I remember hearing that statement. And he's like, legitimately, and more than like half their time is spent on
Absolutely.
the next campaign,
Right.
which is unfortunate, which might be why, no offense, but why everything moves so slow
Right.
out there.
Right.
Because they're not fully vested on,
That's right.
on their eye on the target.
And then this is very important. All the people who are, whether it's city council, state representatives, national, they all have a job back home. Most of them were educated or have a job, and most of them are not in our industry.
Right.
So the other thing that you have to remember is they don't know, and they will admit they don't know. So when somebody approaches them to share with them about our industry and to educate them, they'll listen
Yes.
because they want to know. And you could become their expert at that level, and they'll call you with questions. This happens all the time in our industry, but you have to make your voice heard. You have to be respectful, be firm, and then just let them know the pros and cons. But it starts with getting involved with your local affiliate, apartment association of some sort in your area, NAMA or AMAs in your area, and get involved. And I don't know if we could share later, but there's emails that you could send into some of these organizations and get on their newsletters.
Yes.
So
Yes.
to me, it's easier than it sounds because everybody's scared to death to go talk to somebody.
Well, and the good news is that your local affiliates, they'll help you.
Absolutely.
Like, they'll give you the verbiage. They'll
Absolutely.
help you. If you want to participate, there are many, many opportunities.
Absolutely.
And I think that was the real point is we employ 17.9 jobs. The multifamily industry supports 17.9 million jobs.
Yeah.
That's a lot of people.
That's a
that
lot
we
of people.
employ.
That's right.
And it's interesting to think about. We don't have enough of a reflective voice. Like they don't hear enough from us. But when it comes to the resident activists, they're very loud and they have large numbers.
They are.
But we do too. We're just not utilizing them. And I think it's time and that was the point of bringing the legislative session to Tasmania for the last 2 years is we have to.
Right.
Because there is another side to the story. Earlier today, we were talking about when the resident activists are making their voices heard, and there's a lot of headlines. Our investors are seeing that. Politicians are seeing that. They see that they're on the headlines in the news. They're hearing from the resident right activists. And the big topic is rent gouging. We always see, there's a lot of conversation right now about rent gouging. But it's never followed by property tax gouging.
Yeah.
Or insurance premium
That's right.
gouging. And it's like, realistically, we should be having those conversations first and then coming back and talking about rent. And the problem is when the renters' rights activist groups, they're well organized, and there is a problem. Not taking away from that. We do have housing affordability challenges in the United States. We need to address that. But there is also a reality of what it takes to run an apartment community, to maintain it, to provide quality housing that somebody enjoys coming home to. Housing is a fundamental need, 100%. But you know what's even better than having it as a fundamental need? Having a home you like to come home to.
That's right. Right.
And so we had a good conversation about that this morning. And the only way we can help our policymakers really understand the other side of the coin is from the people who actually do the job.
Right.
And so you all have a story to tell about your properties, the maintenance of the properties, what happens with turf. I would tell you that the few that I've been able to talk to, shocked at the amount of damages, specifically back in the day around carpet.
That's right.
And what our major expenses were, because I have no idea.
Right.
So that's why it matters. You matter. We do an important job in this industry providing housing. And everyone is an important part of that, including us here on the supplier side. We all need to do our part. It's a hot issue right now, hotter than ever. And it's never too late to get involved.
That's right.
So, well, Bobby, I just want to say thank you again for coming here. I feel, I see you at these events, and sometimes it's in passing.
Right.
So really, I just trapped you in a room with just me.
Right.
So I feel like I'm a genius right now. But I really enjoyed it. I hope you do too.
I want to make a closing comment
Go right ahead.
So in my life, I've been around a while. Again, it's all about people to me, and that's important. And I have this. you can't be great friends with everybody. You have to pick and choose a little bit. And then there are those people in your life that you may not even live in the same town, you may not talk to that often. But there are people that have touched you. You need to cultivate that. Elizabeth is one of those people that many years ago in DC, the first time we met, you have a little something that clicks, and you're grateful for that. But this may sound silly, but those relationships in my life that I have, and there's very few, that while I'm working and in a situation, I can think about that relationship, and it helps me get, I don't know, happy, at a better place, whatever, because that's what life's about. So when you're having your troubles, you have to deal with business, you have those relationships. If I called those type of people, especially Elizabeth, for every time that I've thought about her and her helped me, just because of the short stories that we've shared, I'd be calling her all the time. So I want to say thank you, because you've had a major impact on me, and I know that you have major impact on your company and your peers, your family, your friends, and I appreciate for you for who you are.
Aw.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, mascara alert. I wouldn't play no. Aw, thank you, Bobby.
Thank
well, ditto.
Yeah.
Like I said, and that's the beautiful thing, and this is why people can't leave multifamily.
That's
You
right.
get it, you're part of it, you understand
That's right.
it.
That's right.
And we're very fortunate to all be here together.
Thank you.
So thank you. I appreciate it.
I love it.
So, all right. So hopefully you guys all feel a little warm and fuzzy out there. As we talked about some heavy things, but some good things too. Just thank you again for joining us. We're here live at Apartment Wise. For those of you that are watching this, which is later on demand, I really hope you enjoy this podcast. I think Bobby's very, very engaging and so much fun to be around, but very, very intelligent. You've had years, decades of success for a reason. And if you happen to ever see Bobby, you can approach him too. He's very approachable. But I also think it's, like I said, it's just a small glimpse of the caliber, of the talent, of the people that you can network and meet
Absolutely.
with at events like NAA Apartmentalize. So we're going to give that shout out. Hopefully next year you can get here and be here in person when it's in Philadelphia next year.
That's right.
Philadelphia 2024. Be sure to like us and share Prop Talk, where we decode property management one episode at a time. Bye, guys.
See you later. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for tuning in.